I'm Shira Bergbauer, and you're listening to an excerpt from the Stethoscopes to Swaddles podcast. All right, so how do you plan for the fifth trimester? One of the things about returning to work is knowing what you're going to do for childcare. Childcare looks different for every family. Some people opt for daycare. Some people opt for a nanny. Some people opt for a family member taking care of the baby. Totally up to you. The one prerequisite is that whatever you choose, if it feels comfortable for you, then you just do that. The comfort is the most important thing, right? You are going to be leaving your most precious commodity, your child, with another human being. And so you want to make sure that you feel comfortable. One of the things that I recommend is whether you're going to do daycare or a nanny or a family member taking care of your baby, is do a dry run before the actual day that you return to work. So the way it looks like is kind of simulate the day of you're going to go back to work. How will you get ready in the morning? When will the provider show up, or when will you take the baby to daycare? Simulate that so you kind of know like the things, the nuances that you hadn't thought about as you're planning for it. That way when the actual day comes, you're a little more prepared for it. When you're looking into daycare, it's so important that you feel comfortable with the setting and that you understand all their rules and sick baby rules. When can you not bring the baby in? Like, for example, how long after a fever do you have to keep the baby home? Knowing all of those things will help you so you can plan for your job and you can plan for when you're going to be at work. And if they call you, do you have an emergency system? For example, if they call you when you're at work and maybe you're not going to be able to get out within a certain amount of time, is your partner in a position to go pick up the baby, or how is it going to work? It's important that you write down all the pertinent information, be it for daycare or for the nanny, the baby's pediatrician's phone number, the address for the pediatrician. One thing I highly recommend if you're going to have a nanny at home is having a safety sheet. So it has your information, your partner's information, another emergency contact, your home address written on that piece of paper. And if, like, for example, in our community, we have a gate code. So it's written on the piece of paper because if there's an emergency and they're calling 911, they don't have to, like, remember all those numbers. They're written right there. There have been stories that I've read, for example, of, like, if you have a swimming pool, it's important to have, like, your home address, like, very close to the swimming pool. So if anything happens and somebody's calling for 911, there's no delay in timing as far as getting help because all the information is right there. So have that safety sheet. I actually do have that safety sheet available on my website if you would like to download it. It just, you fill it in, you write in your contact information, the nearest number. Another thing that we have on our safety sheet is the dosing for, like, you know, basic medications like acetaminophen, ibuprofen. If there's an, like, sort of like, you know, fever situation, how much can the baby get based on their weight? And that just communicates that with all providers. And then if you're going to go into daycare, having that information accessible so that they know if they have to take the baby to the hospital, God forbid, they know where your preferred provider is. They know your pediatrician's number. They know how to reach you at work. Always provide an alternative phone number. So if they can't reach you on your mobile phone, they can still call your job and get a hold of you. The other thing with childcare is that you have to be able to let go of perfection if it stays within the realm of safety. So if you feel safe and secure with your provider, you don't need to hover all the time because you also want to give them some sort of autonomy so that they feel like you trust them and you're not always looking over their shoulder. Most facilities will provide you with a way to, like, watch the cameras and see how your baby's doing. But you don't want to spend 90% of your workday watching your baby on the camera. I think that if you feel safe and secure in the provider, then you should allow yourself permission to not always be looking at it. Okay, so you go back to work and it's, you know, day one, and the first thing you will feel like, first day going back, I can almost guarantee you, is that you feel like it's time to quit your job. And I want to share with you that that is normal. Wanting to quit your job after maternity leave is a normal feeling. It's expected. In her book, The Fifth Trimester, Lauren Brody shares the 5 steps to navigating this period, and I'm going to share that with you. So the first thing she says is to remember that the discomfort is temporary. The best advice I got returning to work after maternity leave was that my baby was 4 months old, and the person said to me, "You're going to miss her, but she's not going to miss you, and that's a good thing." She's not going to be sitting there watching the clock and thinking, "Oh my gosh, my mom has been gone for 2 hours. Now she's been gone for 3, 4, 5, 6." She doesn't still have that concept of time. And so you're the one that's actually feeling it more. Just realize that it's normal and it's temporary and it's going to go away. And the other thing that she shared with me is that you going back to work helps your baby learn that the world does not revolve around her. There's more to the world than just you and her. So she's getting exposure to the rest of the world and the people that exist in the rest of the world. And that's something that we want. Think about what you will get out of work, right? So you've spent at least 3 months at home or however long you've been at home. Just remember what you get out of your career and get out of like your job. For me, it was the connection with other adults, the ability to take care of another person, the ability to see the beginning and end of my care in anesthesia. So that for me was a good reminder. Okay, you're doing a good job. You can still keep a human being alive. And there's a reward at the end where you your patient wakes up fine, your patient wakes up comfortable. And so that for me was like a good thing. Number 3 is realize what your job gets out of you. If you are in a job where the time that you were gone, maybe somebody else had to replace you or other people had to pick up the load, they're obviously going to be very happy to see you back because their load has now been reduced. So realize that you're an asset. And even if they don't communicate that with you, just be self-aware that you're an asset to them and do your best. Number 4 is consider phasing back in. So you don't have to go hard 100%. Consider speaking up and asking for a flexibility in your return so you can ease back into it. And then number 5, when you think about quitting, is to allow yourself to enjoy a bit of success, right? Like you've made it this far in your career, you've add value to your company. Allow yourself to enjoy that, because then when you feel like quitting, you're going to be like, well, but I kind of like how it feels to be successful. So that is a good summary on the 5 steps. I highly, highly recommend this book for navigating this trimester, and I'm going to share it in the show notes for anybody that might want to be looking into it. I'm Shira Bergbauer, and you're listening to an excerpt from the Stethoscopes to Swaddles podcast. You can listen to the whole episode wherever you get your podcasts, and look out for new episodes out every Monday. You're doing a great job, Mama. I'll see you next week. Bye now.